Kris, Ben, it's a pleasure to see the two of you, and it's been an even greater pleasure to see your film, which I think is vastly important, and vastly touching and vastly moving, and tells a very important story that nobody really knows about, And so, I mean, how did you even come across? How did you come across the subject? Because the subject of, hey, we play music and music is important, that's been covered 1,000 times, but nobody's covered this amazing shop that is so vital to our existence.
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in, Ben, but first of all, thanks so much for being here and for having this conversation. We found out about this repair shop a little over 4 years ago when we were making another film together about my grandfather, Concertos of Conversation. And Jeremy Lambert, producer on this film, sent Ben the article about the repair shop. And Ben at the time asked me if I had heard of it because he knew I went to LAUSD schools. And for me, it was such a surprise that one, I never knew this shop existed, but also I never even considered as a kid how these instruments are kept in shape. For me, it was like I go play the piano in the auditorium or in the music room, or I play the saxophone that I have, that's the school saxophone in the music room in middle school. And when it's broken, somehow the next
Yeah,
week I'm back and it's fixed. And I never thought about how that happened.
yeah. The magical fairy of musical instruments comes and fixes it. Uh,
Exactly.
I've My thinking was exactly the same. Um, I mean, there are two parts for me to this. One is, but one of my greatest fears is that music education, or just generally the sort of the desire to play music, the music in school, music, whatever it is, join a band, make music, is in danger of disappearing. The other thing that I'm terrified of is that the orchestras disappear.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, the world we are in, which is film music, is one of the last places which actually um, somehow supports orchestras, because having an orchestra is an expensive hobby, as you might have discovered. But the whole point is, if you're young, you want to have an instrument that plays beautifully. You want to have something that isn't creaky and not working well, and the valves are terrible, and it's dusty and nasty. So having these people come and actually, they're a huge part of making it possible that we can enjoy the experience of learning an instrument.
Yeah.
So I love that with this documentary you're actually honoring, something that is vital to carrying on the tradition of music.
Yeah, no question. And I think for us, the other interesting thing, living in Los Angeles, we were both surprised and just very proud that LA is the last major city that has one of these repair shops. And to think about all of the session musicians and composers and all kinds of really crucial people, not only to film music, but music in general, that have come through LA's public school system and played these instruments, kind of mind-blowing, John Williams graduated in 1950 from North Hollywood High School all the way to Kris. I mean, the LA public school system has really been kind of like an unsung educational institution when it comes to American music and film music as well. It was not hard to fill the orchestra and the end credits with LAUSD players because there are so many of them.
Well, yeah, actually, something? There were quite a few I recognized, which was great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We've done sessions together. Yes, we've played together. We've done. No, I mean, it's like these amazing players that exist in LA, and the thing which I like that you did by making this movie is hopefully saying to other cities and to other countries even, you have to support this. You have to have your own. This can't be the last musical instrument repair shop. This should be the first of many.
Mm.
Absolutely. What's your first memory with a musical instrument?
My first memory with a musical instrument is my. I think it's my first memory really. We had a grand piano at home, and actually there are two very important memories. One was the grand piano, which was like, and you reached up and you couldn't you played the keys like this, right, and it made a noise. The second and incredible memory I had, not far from where I grew up, lived a man who had he was a restorer of churches. He restored Strasbourg Cathedral, etc., etc. And he had an old tower, and he had a church organ in it, which an old Baroque church organ that he somehow managed to persuade a church that they didn't really need it anymore. And I remember, basically jamming on this thing, making to everybody a horrific noise, other than to him, who kept saying to my parents, no, listen to this. They're daring harmonics. Listen to this. This is very different. And then remembering the moment when my legs were long enough that I could touch the bass pedals, and make that noise. And when I got home, I could go and sit in front of the piano, which was a complete luxury. I mean, pianos are, now you can pick up a piano on Craigslist for like $100 or something like that. Yeah. But we didn't have Craigslist then, and so I grew up with the luxury of having that thing. We didn't have a television. We had a musical instrument. Wow. And so really all I did was all day play the piano. I mean, and I still do it. When I sit down in front of a keyboard, the world around me disappears. And then, I don't know, a day later, I notice that I'm hungry or that I haven't slept or something like that. So it's a weird, transcendent, fabulous thing. It's a weird and I don't know. I mean, Kris, you must feel that. I'm pretty sure you feel the same way. When you're playing, when you're writing, and it's not just that. It's when you're listening to other people play. When you're in a room with other musicians, and you're just one of them. And so what are you trying to do? So you're trying to listen to everybody else. And so when you play, you're trying to make everybody else sound better. And it's having these opportunities, that but we wouldn't have these opportunities were it not for people who support us in this way. I mean, these days I spend a lot of time, doing concerts. And every evening I go, okay, I just want to thank our road crew, because without them, without those people, there would just be silence. There would be nothing, So the great unnamed heroes of the art that we get to produce, the great piano tuner. I mean, you have it in your film, the art of tuning the piano or working on a piano. It's such a vastly complicated instrument. It takes such patience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask. I'm curious. You were talking about, your relationship with both live acoustic music and obviously technology, and embracing that and finding this way to fuse those things. And we're obviously at a time where any young person that's interested in music is probably interested in making beats or making music on the computer. I'm curious if you could just talk a little bit more to how you're embracing of both sides, and especially on the music instrument side, is helpful in your digital side and vice versa.
Well, I think there's a thing that happens, and it doesn't matter if you're on a computer or if you're playing the piano, if you're playing the saxophone. You have to get good at it. And that means you have to put the hours in. But it's not like the hours shoveling snow or doing something like this. It's the hours of playing, playfulness. So that to me is incredible. The operative word in music is play, right? So don't see it. Look, here was my problem. Growing up in Germany, German piano teachers do not believe in that this is supposed to be fun and playful. They believe in smacking you across your knuckles when you misread or when you play the wrong note. So 2 weeks of piano lessons, and then the guy went to my mom and said, it's either him or me. And luckily, my mom I think she made the right choice. But that's not what it should be. I mean, it should be about playfulness. It should be about the joy of losing yourself, being creative. I mean, creating something, doing something that puts a smile onto other people's face, communicating with people beyond the limitations of words. Look, unless you're Shakespeare, unless you're a great poet, our use of language is pretty limited. But those 12 notes that we have and those instruments we have, we can do amazing things with that. I mean, we can move people in a way that you could just, it's very difficult to do in words.
Yeah.
And I think, that's the thing that interests me, and so get good at playing your computer, get good at playing the beats, get good at sampling, get good at playing the oboe. It's all the same thing. It's what's the thing that moves you? What's the thing that touches you? And okay, so this is me on my high horse going, and don't play for money. Play for pleasure. I don't think I've ever written a note for money. But write for art's sake. Write for the fun of it. Because you're sitting in a room with other people, and somebody starts tapping their fingers on the desk, and the next thing you know, it's like things are happening, and then tunes coming, and whoa, it's all exploding, and it's getting loud, and the neighbors are calling the police, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think I'll ever listen to your music again without thinking of the little kid and the daring harmonics on the organ. That it makes so much sense, actually.
Yeah.
The magic of that.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's having somebody who encourages you is so vital. And then I think about your film, and there is nothing more encouraging than the people who maintain and repair and lovingly look after these instruments, And if you're lucky and you're in a school that supports music in that way, and you get to pick up one of those instruments and it's been lovingly taken care of, you stand a chance of, it's very simple. You get to have a chance of having a better life than kids who don't get the opportunity of being able to play music. I would just love to encourage that. What your film does is it brings, because your film is about an idea. It's about an idea that it's possible to maintain a little shop that looks after these instruments, that makes the world a better place. These guys make the world a better place. They help make the world a better place. And so maybe what your film will really do is inspire other towns, other countries, other schools, other little shops to start up. Both of you, it is your general, it's not just your interest in music, it's your interest in humanity, it's your interest in people, to sit down with them and talk to them and explore their stories, and as you explore their stories, you suddenly find out, why they're doing what they're doing, because they just want to do the right thing, and they are doing the right thing, and they're passionate about it, and you found passion in a place that nobody thought of,
Yeah. And another thing I think that comes through hopefully, which I think is a problem that we all face, because it's so convenient to just, when the phone starts, not going as fast as it should be, I'll just throw it out and get a new one. And for them to have such a fundamental, basic attitude towards the world that everything can be repaired, can be fixed, it starts to sort of go beyond physical objects and into, relationships, society, like, public school system, et cetera. That was always something that was so inspiring to me too, was their general attitude that what is broken does not necessarily need to be discarded, but with a little something here and there could be repaired, restored, made whole again, which is a really, it's an optimistic perspective, but I think it's one that at least I don't often hear people talking about that, right? It's more like, get rid of the old idea, here's a whole new idea, versus
that's a hugely important idea you're actually talking about, because yes, we live in this society where we're throwing things away left, right, and center. At the same time, we're living in a society where we're being told on a daily basis that we're destroying the world with our, the way we discard things, the plastics in the ocean, everything, everything is just, we're the disposable society, and ultimately we will become the disposable people.
Yeah.
This is a different subject, but it's the same thing. It's like, I as a foreigner going to America and going, healthcare, it's unaffordable in America. So I see healthcare as a human right. I don't see that we just throw people away. I don't see that we take musical instruments and throw them away. I mean, these musical instruments, somehow within each one, somebody played a beautiful tune at one point or the other, and we should honor that. We should. I mean, building. If you think about it, building a violin, building a piano. I mean, it's a ridiculous undertaking. It's when I was doing Interstellar, I did a lot of research on church organs, pipe organs, and by the 17th century, the pipe organ was basically the most complicated machine human beings had developed, and it stayed the most complicated machine until the telephone exchange. So I was thinking, wow, people spend that much energy, that much thought, that much ingenuity, that much inventiveness to create musical instruments, because it was necessary to create things which would be beautiful, and in exchange create beautiful music. I mean, one of the huge advantages of recording in Los Angeles is you're dealing with players who have beautiful instruments because they can afford it, because the session business, the film business, everything, it is worth your while to be a musician in Los Angeles. You can make a living, And I remember going to Vienna for the first time, and with my friend, the violinist Alexei Igudisman, and I'm saying, why do you live in Vienna? And he's going, because it's the last place on earth where they respect musicians. And he used to have this amazing trio that I actually was introduced to by Ennio Morricone. He said, "Oh, these people are the only people that can play my music." So this amazing trio, and I said, "So how did you guys meet? I mean, how did you form the trio? Did you meet at music school? Did you No. We were all living in the same block of flats." I'm thinking, wow, what a town. You live in a block of flats and it's full of geniuses, and want to play music with you, And I remember doing some work with them, and I was in Los Angeles. I sent my music editor over to Vienna to work with them, and I was phoning her, and I said, what are you guys doing today? She goes, well, today they can't do anything. They're playing Bartok in a bar. And then she paused and she goes, they're playing classical music in bars here in Vienna.
Wow.
You know, and she was just blown away, you know, and so I'm saying that there are these places, you know, I mean, you know, there's LA, there's Venezuela, there's, you know, there's Vienna I just mentioned, you know. Let's make, you know, your film adds to the vocabulary of encouraging people to go and play music, and how to make it possible to play music, and how to make it possible, you know, when your instrument becomes a little bit, you know, when the guitar you bought in the shop is out of tune and you don't know how to tune it, you know, you throw it away, you know.
Exactly.
So learn how to tune your guitar, learn how to play your instrument. It's going to be your best friend for life.
Totally.
Fabulous.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Kris, for making an extraordinarily important film, and thank you for the participants who run this amazing shop for helping making the world a better place, because I think that's really what they're doing. And thank you for the schools that are supporting people like us who maybe enter the school not thinking of the possibility that we could ever possibly play music, and think of it as a gift, as opposed to, no, we can all have a go at it. You know, you just have to put your heart into it, and to put your heart into it, somebody has to give you an instrument that is functioning and beautiful. And so thank you for all of this, and thank you for making a film that points that out to the world.
Thank
I
you.
love it.
Thank you so much for this conversation. It's been a real treat.
Yeah, seriously.